And we're live. What's good, Ohio Cannabis Report community? It's your boy Gerald Moore Jr., and I am your host. I'm the founder of Ohio Cannabis Report, bringing you all of the latest news and updates and things going on in the Ohio cannabis community. We want to thank everybody who has liked, comment, and subscribed to the channel. If you haven't, please be sure to subscribe to the channel by hitting the subscribe button. Also, hit the notification bell. That'll let you know when we go live. Anytime I go live, sometimes I just randomly go live. I have a little bit of time, throughout the day or throughout the week, and something has happened, and I want to go live just to get you guys up to date on what's going on in the Ohio cannabis landscape. So, obviously, there's been a lot going on. To wrap up 2025. We did our 2025 wrap up. 2025 was a solid year for us, man. Obviously, we definitely seen a lot of ups and downs in the industry. Us personally, we did more events. We covered more events. We went to the State House more. So I got a little bit more comfortable in this space because, again, it's not easy, obviously, to do this work. If you guys didn't pay attention to the last live, obviously people start coming after you once you start poking the big bear. Again, we don't take any money from these companies. The only company that we're partnered with is App Girls Cannabis. Again, we don't, I don't subscribe to the BS that's going on at these companies that are just, really just gouging money from consumers. And so they're really not fighting for the people. So before I get into it, Happy New Year's, Happy 2026. And just a disclaimer, again, I do not work with the state. I do not work with any of the cannabis companies. We are independent media company. I'm an independent person. This is an independent platform. I am not a journalist, just a normal citizen. I got a medical card, and I decided to start an Instagram page called Ohio Cannabis Report. And so that's kind of how we got here. And then I built up and got the YouTube and stuff like that, got the Facebook. So again, I'm just somebody, a concerned citizen. I am an entrepreneur. I am a creative. I am a president of a nonprofit, Green Environmental Outreach. So I do work in the community. I do advocacy work. I've been a stay-at-home dad the last 8 years. So a lot of my time has been raising children on top of staying on top of what's going on politically in the landscape of Ohio. So I've had a lot of, experience. I first started off in Ohio living in Athens. So shout out to Athens. I love my Athens people. That's why we support App Girls Cannabis. I'm a former Bobcat, graduated 2012 as a football player. And so that's where my love for cannabis, that's where my love for Ohio really came into play. And then about a decade ago, we moved to Zanesville. And about a decade ago, we moved to Columbus, Ohio, lived in different suburbs. And so we just purchased a home in Columbus. So I've been a little bit more boots on the ground here in Columbus at the State House, trying to get people rallied up and together so we could stay on the same page and people can know what's going on. Because there's a lot of information that comes out that people aren't aware of, right? The state isn't doing their due diligence in disseminating the information to the masses, right? A lot of the news stations are owned by billionaires. So they have a specific agenda as well because they have people who pay their bills, right? The people got to understand media works by ad spend, right? So when you see, let's say Coca-Cola, Pepsi, some of these big brands, right? Like you see the NFL, you see McDonald's, you see the Army, they are paying for that advertising space, right? The Army has a marketing budget, right? That's how they put up billboards, advertisements, stuff like that, and make things go, right? So you look at McDonald's, they advertise everywhere. You look at Coca-Cola, right? But you look at the Ohio cannabis industry and we can't market and advertise. The only people that could market and advertise are the hemp companies, really. And that's why the mega cannabis companies wanted them shut down because, again, they're losing alcohol sales, right? Alcohol can be marketed and advertised, and nobody says, oh, they're marketing and advertising it to children. But you go to a sporting event and all the men are chugging Bud Lights next to their young kid. Yeah. And we'll do this article too. It's legal for people in Ohio under the age of 21 to drink. So Ohio's a wild place. So again, people in the cannabis industry, we have to wake up, we have to be loud, we have to use our voice, but we also have to educate the community, right? It's not enough to be infighting and say, well, oh, my weed's better than yours, or this is trash. Like, no, how about you educate yourself, educate the community? We should be talking about the endocannabinoid system. We should be talking about how, oh, I have this illness, I have this disease, I have this thing that hurts me or is I'm dealing with, and this medicine helps me to just navigate life a lot easier, better. You know what I mean? Because again, if we don't talk and we just allow people to talk to us, at us, or about us, and then we're constantly fighting the stigma, right? Most people put the stigma out there and it's like, oh, we don't like the smell of weed. Well, yeah, that's the people that like to smoke weed. Everybody doesn't like to smoke weed. Some people just like to eat it. Some people like tinctures. Some people like to drink it, right? Some people like topicals, right? But some people like to smoke it because maybe that's the easiest way. Maybe that's the cheapest way for them. Maybe that's the only way they know. Maybe that's the only way they have access to get cannabis into their system, right? So again, we have to understand that there is a spectrum, right? There is a spectrum here. But if people are steadily being quiet, shunned, or afraid to come out in public to because of the law now, it just puts people right back into the closet of being afraid, living in fear. Um, and that's part of the issues I have with the legalization process, the regulation process, is that, again, we're allowing big industry, big alcohol, big pharmaceutical, um, big government to really control the voices of the masses. But we are not doing a good enough job educating. Right? People come to these platforms and it's like, well, I can't speak for everybody. I can only speak for myself. That's why I try to bring other people with stories on. But it's tough getting people to share their story, which I understand because again, people have jobs, careers, families, right? It's a touchy subject. I've been in the public eye my entire life, pretty much, right? So as an athlete, just think how I've felt since I was 16, 17, 18 years old, playing on TV, everybody putting all this pressure on you to be perfect, to be an upstanding citizen, to do all of these things. I'm smoking weed, and God forbid I get caught. That ruins everything, right? So I had to tiptoe from 16, 17, 18, 19, all the way through my 20s, my early 20s, till I tried out for the NFL. And then obviously once you get to that level, it's like, yo, if you fail a drug test, now you're on ESPN, right? You guys, we're in Ohio, so you got a lot of Browns fans, right? Remember Josh Gordon, the Josh Gordon? Why isn't he in the league? Because of weed, right? How many guys lose careers, jobs, and then you got Stephen A. Smith. Oh, you couldn't stay off the weed, but we can get all the drugs, all the pills, all the alcohol we want. We are violent criminals essentially on the field because that's a felony to hit somebody, right? You could kill somebody. So how do you think somebody comes down from that, right? You're either going to go drink, go smoke, pop some pills. And so again, if that's illegal, if we're going to criminalize and demonize people for just trying to take better care of themselves for a corporate profit, who is in the wrong, right? Like who should really be speaking up? And so that's why we created the platform, in hopes that it would give people like real people a platform, not just corporations to try to profit and make money, right? Because that's really what the system is about, right? So we're all about supporting home grow. We should be sharing how to grow. There is an event coming up in Athens on Thursdays. They're doing home grow at the Cannabis Museum in Athens, Ohio. So I think they said 6:30 to 7:30. I'll get that for sure. That is impromptu advertisement. They didn't ask me to do that, but I appreciate my Athens folks. They overwhelmingly voted for cannabis legalization, and they're doing it right, man. They come together as a community. They do home grow. They do workshops. They have the Cannabis Museum. Shout out to Ronnie. Ronnie gives out clones and cannabis to veterans. And it's a really good group of people, man, that are really trying to do right. And obviously Appalachia is one of the hardest hit communities. When I talk about social equity, obviously I talk about Black and brown African American people, but I also understand that there's poor white people. When I got to Athens, I was like, oh shit, I didn't know Athens in West Virginia. I didn't know people live like that. That was fucking a culture shock, right? But that's poverty, right? Those people have been exploited for having grows out there, right? Living off the land. It's literally a forest. You have Wayne National Forest, and then now you have big corporation, big oil want to come in and frack in Athens, right? They're already doing it, but then they want to do it in the national forest, right? Before we even start to grow cannabis in mass. So again, people have to wake up and realize that, yeah, we can do all this stuff on social media, but if you aren't talking to your state legislators, your state representatives, your state senators, your congressmen, and informing them, educating them on different issues that you support, right? Cannabis is one of those issues. It's a bipartisan issue. So no matter you right, left, in the middle, far right, I know people on all ends of the spectrum that smoke weed. Like, I know hardcore Trump people that smoke weed. I know people that's super on this side that smoke weed. I know people in the middle. I know professionals on all different levels. So, but again, there's a lot of people that aren't willing to come out of the closet per se, right? And hang their hat on weed. Why don't we talk about weed as much as we talk about everything else? Why are we stigmatizing it? Oh my God, he's a pot. No, it's a such thing called as microdosing, right? Like, everybody's not just stoned out of their mind. You have some people that are microdosing. You know what I mean? All they need is a little bit to take the edge off, a little bit to decrease the pain, a little bit to decrease the discomfort, right? I'm 6'1", and I range from 205 to 210, 215 every now and again, right? Depending on what my workout regimen is looking like. So my weed consumption, and I played football, right? So at a high level. So my weed consumption is going to be different than somebody that didn't play football, that's not 6'1", 215. So don't compare my weed consumption to somebody else who's 5'3", 110 pounds soaking wet. You know what I mean? We can't even compare. Of course, I'm going to consume probably more. My pain tolerance might be different as well. So again, there's a spectrum, and we have to use our voices. We have to use our stories, because again, there hasn't been a lot of research done, right? Because it's been illegal the last 60 years. So you don't have a bunch of, colleges. Ohio State hasn't done a bunch of institutional research backed by the federal government on cannabis and its effects on people and why people use it, right? I'm sure 75, 90% of Ohio State football players smoke weed or consume cannabis in some sort. You know what I mean? Because again, it's a healthier alternative than pain pills. So again, people have to really start to use your privilege, use your platforms, start your own podcast, start your own, a lot of people, oh, nobody's going to listen. Yes, people will. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not for everybody. I know that. And I don't even try. Like, I know I'm not going to be for everybody. You know what I mean? So if you don't like how I talk or present what I present or what I talk about, that's fine with me. You can let me know. You can just not follow. You can block, you report. But this is my POV. This is why I started the platform, right? Because again, it's mine. I can do whatever I want. And you can too. That's the beauty of social media. That's the beauty of YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, Substack, right? We need more people sharing their POV, especially in the cannabis lens, right? Like, I deal with arthritis, right? At 36 years old, it's painful. It's uncomfortable. I look good. I feel good. But again, that shit hurts sometimes, right? So again, I have to get creams. I have to get some type of lotion to ease the pain, get the swelling down. Cannabis helps with the inflammation, with the discomfort, right? With the PTSD, with the brain fog, right? So those are things that I share, right? That's why I'm a published author. That's why I have multiple platforms. That's why I use my personal platform. That's why I create events. You know what I mean? We need more. And so again, you might be able to reach somebody that I can't. Your story might impact somebody or touch somebody because y'all are dealing with very similar things, social, economic things, life things, right? You may be able to open somebody else's eyes to be like, oh, I didn't even think about that, right? Because most people are selfish, right? Most people are only thinking about themselves. You know what I mean? So if they were trained and raised to not like weed, then they're going to look at people that smoke weed or smell like weed and be like, oh, when I was little, my parents told me not to associate with people like that. Or we associate people with weed, with crime, criminals, black men, deviant behavior, uh, weird shit, which is like, you smoke weed and it's like, if you smoke weed and you like start tweaking, like clearly you done took something that's not weed, right? But for me, like weed is like the aligner, right? Like that shit aligns what I need. Like if I'm a little bit over, I'm like, there we go. Balance, right? Homeostasis, right? So we have to, but we have to educate folks. Our doctors, should be educating folks too. What's good, Kevin? What's good, Kevin? So, all right, enough of my high horse. I'm gonna get to some news. It's gonna be a quick one today. Obviously, this is really unplanned. I did get contacted by one of the folks who's a business owner and part of the referendum group. He's actually one of the owners of and founders of App Girls Cannabis as well. So, Joey Elwood, we have been in communication with him about the referendum process. And so again, I mentioned to you guys in a earlier show that we would potentially have him. He wanted to wait till Friday. Obviously Friday has passed. And so I have to see. I don't think there's been any movement on the referendum yet. But he did contact me today and said he wants to schedule further out so we have more news on referendum. So I tell them, hit me up whenever, you know what I mean? So we'll try to get it straight from the source. And so I know it's a few different companies, hemp companies that are part of this referendum. But I think as citizens, like even if you're not a part of the cannabis community, we need citizen action, right? Citizens need to be suing the state, suing the governor, because again, he's going against the will of the voters, right? The state representatives, OCAN. I pointed out in previous content how OCAN has been one of the main voices for basically ending the hemp program, because again, OCAN is representing all of the legal, not all of them, but a lot of the legal cannabis companies, cultivators, processors, companies, ancillary companies that are associated within that organization. And so they represent them. And so their goal is to get them as much money as possible, right? And so of course they want to stop people from going up north to Michigan because that's taking a lot of money out of their pockets, right? Probably billions of dollars. And then you got, these head shops, these dispensaries that aren't, DCC licensed dispensaries. You got drive-throughs, you got gas stations, and people are going to get cannabis from there. Obviously, you got home growers, you got people, CBD websites. I mean, there's all different types of places where people can get this. And it's an alternative to going into the dispensary. Some people just don't want to go into the dispensary. It can feel overwhelming. Some people may think the prices are too much. Some people may not have access. There may not be, dispensaries close by. So there's a lot of different reasons why people are, picking and choosing where to go. But from my experience and what I've researched, OCAN seems to be the stronghold for the Ohio cannabis companies, and pursuit of regulation and pursuit of creating laws that benefit them. And so that's why we kind of speak out, right? Like it's 11.8 million people in the state of Ohio. There's about let's see, what, 30, 40 people that own cannabis companies, legit, right? And then how many are, multi-state operators? So who's really generating, where's the wealth, right? If there's over $30 million in the social equity fund that they got rid of or wanting to get rid of, where's that money? That money is supposed to be allocated to communities that have been most harmed by the war on drugs, right? And why would they want to do that, right? Ohio's big prison industry, private prison, right? A lot of black folks are in prison not for violent crimes, right? We hear about the violent crimes, but a lot of black folks, black men in particular, young black men, are locked up for petty crime, right? petty weed crimes, right? Petty drug offenses. Let's say you got 4 or 5 dime bags. Now that you attempt to distribute, right? Oh, paraphernalia, smell, probable cause. Some of the things that they brought back with Ohio SB 56. Now, if a cop pulls you over and he suspects you of being a marijuana consumer, now that's probable cause to get you out of the car, search the car, make you do a test. Now we have grounds to lock you up or give you a fine, right? Not everybody can afford a $500 to $1,000 fine, right? So then now you got $1,000 fine, you didn't pay that, and then what? It's jail time, right? And so that's how the system works. And so if you don't work to combat the system, right? If you don't know what the fuck is going on at the state level, everybody gets fucked, but the people with money, right? But the people with access, but the people that have a home so they can I smoke in my home all fucking day if I want to. I smoke in my garage, I smoke in my backyard, smoke on my deck, smoke in my front yard, go for a walk in my community. You know what I mean? But again, everybody doesn't own a home. So again, now we allow landlords to discriminate against you. Now, as a landlord, I can go check, or I can put it in the lease. You know what I mean? Kick you out of the house, do an unannounced, you know what I mean, apartment check. Oh, you smoking, you growing, out, right? Now companies can discriminate against you. You can not have smoked for a week. Oh, random drug test, you failed, you're fired. Now you can't apply for it, you can't earn unemployment, right? And so that's how the law trips people up, right? And so if people aren't paying attention and most people are just aloof, living with their head in the sky, you know, because we've been talking about this stuff for a year plus, you know, many different platforms, but you know, it's been hard to reach people. I tell you that. You know, obviously there's a lot of other stuff going on to distract people, but I put cannabis in the center of everything, right? You can have all of your social issues, right? Cannabis is right here in the center, right? It's a human issue. Black, white, yellow, purple, rich, poor, you know, low class, working class, elite. Like I done been to every level. You know what I mean? Like I'm college educated. You know what I mean? I come from a college educated family. I've traveled the world. You know, I've been all over. You know what I mean? I've been with people like I come from poverty. I come from working class. So I know my people smoke. We really don't grow weed though. My cousin grows really good weed, but a lot of black folks, we don't grow the weed. We sell the weed, right? We market the weed and we smoke the weed. A lot of us don't necessarily grow because we may not know how, we may not have access to obviously the land, have access to, you know, energy costs, right? I mean, a tent, grow tent, all the stuff that it takes. All right. If you don't own a home, you're constantly renting, you're moving out about. So you got some people that's trapping, but that's a very small percentage of people. The average person is a working class individual that is just trying to probably sell a little bit of weed to make ends meet, gives their baby some diapers, you know what I mean? Get some extra. They're not selling, you know, quarter pounds, you know what I mean? Shit like that. But you get out here to the suburbs, and the suburbs, they got whole grows in the garage, the basement. And ain't nobody worried about them. There's cars coming in and out of the garage. Don't nobody know they got a whole fucking grow in the suburbs. They got solar panels on the roof, Subarus, like, you know, it's crazy. But all the police attention goes right to the inner city. You know what I mean? And dudes is selling it on the block. You know what I mean? You got to sell it on the corner, out in front of the gas station, out in front of the corner store. But if you got bread, you in the suburbs. You know what I mean? Like, don't nobody paying attention to who coming in and out like that. You know what I mean? What's happening? And that's the difference. Because we all using the weed the same rate. But I know I go to my white friend's house and I'd be like, yo, you got a whole fucking contraption to press the weed. You got fucking vials of fucking product. Like, I ain't never seen that little, what, the extracts and shit. I never seen extracts until what, a few years ago, and I was like, what the fuck? I used to always see the blowtorch and shit and be like, what the fuck is y'all doing with that? Then I got to college and I was like, this shit is insanity. You know what I mean? Like, how do you get the weed like that? You know what I mean? So again, exposure, right? But a lot of people, and if you're not familiar or in the scene, you're not just gonna look to go learn more, right? Like you're not like I come from a black community. We're not just going to look. I had to go to college for that shit. For motherfuckers to be doing experiments. But again, people be gatekeeping, which I understand. It's America. It's America. All right, so I wanted to share this. I did share it last week, but Ohio officially hit 1 point something billion dollars. Let's see. So 1,031,792,559 in legal non-medical, so adult use recreational sales. So we crossed the $1 billion mark in those sales. I imagine, like, just imagine the sales of the illicit market, the legacy market, just weed, plus probably the hemp market, plus probably all the market going to Michigan and weed that's being shipped in. So much money. And then medical, 2,282,973,667 for a grand total of 3,314,767,263. So that's what the state has brought in total, in total sales for legal. This is adult use and medical sales. These sales figures are as of December 13th, 2025. And the medical sales began January 14th, 2019. Non-medical sales began August 6th, 2024. So, you think about that, man. That's, a little bit over a year of sales. And obviously, a lot of people complain about pricing, but every time I go to the dispensary, that shit is packed. Like every time, I got a dispensary literally right in my backyard. And that's one thing, like, you know, I love a good plug, but the plug don't be available all the time. You know what I mean? And again, the plug got a life. But the dispensary, like, I don't necessarily go to the dispensary for weed. I go for like rosin, I go for like pens, I go for like the lotions, stuff like that. Um, I like to try different things and see what's out there. But I really don't like, I'm not super, again, I got my own, I grow my own. I support locally too. So, a little balance, I think it's all about balance. You know what I mean? It's all about balance. That's what I like. But again, I mean, $1 billion, I don't know where that money going, because again, a lot of the people in dispensary, they on their feet all day. They probably getting paid. If you're in the dispensary, how much y'all getting paid as bud tenders? I'm probably thinking what, $15 to $20 an hour. And then you got your cultivators, you got your processors. They got marketing and shit. I don't know what they marketing. If you can only advertise and market in the dispensary, I'm white and I like smoking flower like it's supposed to. Shout out to Marvin. Now I know white people like to smoke too, man. Like I know everybody don't discriminate, man. I talk a lot. But I know we're human. I know everybody. I'm not from Ohio. Ohio's a different beast, man. So I come from the East Coast. I was born and raised on the East Coast, and in DC. So being out here in Ohio has been a bit of a culture shock. I'm learning something new every single day. Some of the communities that I venture into, obviously being in Athens and in Zanesville, where my wife is from. I've been working out in Springfield for the last 6 years with my nonprofit. If you guys like to support nonprofits, check out Green Environmental Outreach. We are also planning an event, a social equity event here in Columbus, Ohio, April 4th. So keep on the watch for that. Make sure you follow us on Instagram. A lot of our information goes up on Instagram, Facebook as well. So just Ohio Cannabis Report. We also have a Substack. All of those links should be in our bio, I think. Yeah, Ohio is Ohio touches everything, dog. Like that last case with the lady got murdered, or the lady and the husband got murdered. Like what? And that shit went crazy viral, national news. Like we always get Ohio get the wildest shit. Les Wexner and Jeffrey Epstein through Ohio. Ohio's like the biggest sex trafficking, human trafficking hub. Like what the fuck? And then people be mad, like Ohioans be like, oh, everybody hate on Ohio. Nobody fucking hates on Ohio. Ohio people hate on Ohio more than outsiders hate on Ohio. First of all, I didn't know shit about Ohio until I moved here. And then I moved here, and that was cool because we was in Athens, right? I was smoking, I was playing ball, nigga. Like, president was black, my college president, nigga. What? I was top of the world, right? All American. Like, you see, this shit ain't no game. Like, I'm the real deal, right? But then moved to Columbus, and I'm like, fuck. Columbus is fucked up. Well, then we were living in Grandview, Upper Arlington, so those places were nice, but I was like, something's just seeming a little odd. And then we moved to Upper Arlington, and I started coaching football on the football team, and I was like, this shit feels like Get Out. You know what I mean? Like, and Get Out hadn't even come out yet. I don't think. And I was like, this is just weird. And then you just hear all the different weird stories coming out of Ohio. Oh, Zanesville, my wife, where the fucking animals got loose and shit. I'm like, what the fuck is this? Fuck, you know, like, and I've been smoking weed the whole time, but it was illegal back then. So then, of course, I'm moving around nervous as fuck because I'm blunted with them. I've been public consumption since forever. But, you know, for me, like, you know, then you get out in the world and you're like, shit, I got kids now. My wife is a public figure. I've been a public figure. So, like, I kind of took a backseat from my wife once my wife got on air because I was like, I'm tired of being in front of the camera, honestly, as a football player, because everybody judge you when you're in front of the camera. Oh, my God, they judge how you look. They judge the background. They judge the camera quality. They judge how you talk. They judge everything. I got a booger. I got a pimple. So if you're not prepared for that, social media, the internet media will chop you up. You got to have that fuck it. And I smoke weed to have fuck it. So I don't really care now, right? Because it's also not conducive to football, right? Football, you got to play a role. You got to be a leader. You got to be your character. You got to act within the parameters of this system. Fuck this system now. I ain't even get NIL. You know what I mean? So I got the degree, I got the jersey, I got the letters, I got the accolades. But at the end of the day, like, they ain't give me no bread. The scholar, people like, oh, the scholarship. Fuck the scholarship. They was making money. ESPN made money. You know what I mean? The coaches made money, and everybody gets to build their career, but the players, right? So again, I was smoking weed back then too, but I had to keep it really low profile because we were getting drug tested and stuff like that. So again, I get it. You know, people have jobs, but also courage, right? This is why I was a published author in Courage in Cannabis. It takes courage to take risk. It takes courage to believe in yourself. It takes courage to step out on faith. It takes courage to go against the grain when everybody's telling you to go right, you go left. Because you know in your heart you've done the work, you've done the research, you've tested it, it's tried and true. I've smoked all types of weed, I've been around all types of people, I've done all types of challenges and completed all types of goals, and weed has not stopped me once. I think the weed has helped me, actually, because without weed, I don't know if we would be here right now. I definitely wouldn't be here right now. You know what I mean? So, but it takes courage. You know what I mean? It takes courage for people to call you crazy while you walk in your path, right? It takes people time to catch the fuck up. You know what I mean? But by the time I'm over there, you was doubting me. You know what I mean? And I told you years ago, I was telling people years ago. You know what I mean? My parents were against weed. We didn't have weed in my house. We didn't have alcohol in my house. Dry home. But my granddad was a cannabis grower and consumer. My aunts and uncles were cannabis growers and consumers. So it was just in my blood. And then once I got attached to it, I was like, oh yeah, this shit, because you drinking, right? You underage drinking, partying. I was like, this shit fun, but you know, once you start getting poisoned, once you start throwing up and shit, I'm like, this shit ain't fun. Or you do some shit, you wake up, you don't remember shit from the night before. That is not okay. Not okay, right? And that's something like I'm more about being in control of myself. You know what I mean? And weed helps me be in control. So you know, I don't put people down, like even pills. Like as a football player, we get all types of pills. You get all types of injuries. But those pills, you take one too many and you're done. You know what I mean? And that shit is scary. I mean, I've had teammates that have died from overdoses, man, and so that's one of the reasons why I've really been advocating for cannabis, especially for athletes, because we deal with a lot of pain, and being big and strong and mighty, everybody has this perception of you, and then when you come out as, wanting to share your feelings, and it's like, oh, people gonna take advantage of you. You know what I mean? But at the end of the day, human beings, everybody's dealing with something. So but we have to again create spaces, safe spaces for that. We need more, safe spaces out in our communities to accept people in, right? Like there's no lounges. So if you don't own a home, where you go to consume, that's a safe space. You know what I mean? That has maybe the tools that can help you to engage in cannabis in various different ways, right? Like some people may not be able to consume cannabis combusting it, but they may be able to take a tincture or a lotion. But who is educating, right? We need more education, more awareness. So if you're having events, if you're going to events, if you do farmers markets, if you do, go to your church or your place of worship, like we need to be educating people. Tell people about Ohio Cannabis Report. I mean, if you like what we're doing, you know what I mean? If you want to help, send us people, you know what I mean? Tell people about us, you know what I mean? Donate, help support, because we're all about education. Education is so important. I love smoking weed. I love being high. I love having a good time. I love education. But I'm also at the point in my life where I realize there is such a lack of education, especially in healthcare, wellness, mental health, physical health, um, nutrition, just life. People are fucked up, especially in a place like Ohio. We struggle in, we're near bottom in health. We're near bottom in education. We're near bottom in obesity rate, right? Like these are issues that the people have to fix. Like you can't be like, oh, the government's not. No, people run the government. People pay taxes to the government. So I'm in charge of myself, right? Nobody can tell me to get healthy. I have to go do it. I have to go exercise. I have to set the standard for my family and my kids. All right. So if I'm lazy, right, and then I expect my kids to not be lazy, or I expect my kids to be athletic, like that's crazy. When especially I made it to a high level in athletics. So of course, my kids are typically way more athletic than all the other kids they're around because they work out with me. I teach them how to exercise. I teach them how to jump. I teach them how to run, right? We go to the football games, right? I take them to football facilities. They go to OU. We go to the locker room. But it's exposure. And again, everybody doesn't have that access, but it's possible. You know what I mean? So again, you have to show your kids the way. You can't expect society or other men or other people to teach your child, right? Because we're all different. All of our strengths are different. Um, so got to speak up though. Ohio is different. I gotta put that on there. And I be trying to tell people. People think, "Oh, you always talking bad about Ohio. Why don't you just move, bitch?" Because I make money in Ohio. I get money in Ohio. I love Ohio though. Like at the end of the day, like I wouldn't be somewhere if I didn't have love for it. But when you have love for something, you want to see that thing do well. You want to see that thing grow. You want to see that thing flourish. You want to see the people around you do well and flourish. I grew up being like I moved from poverty to working class to being a middle class suburban neighborhood. I know what people look like, how people live that are doing really well, that have tons of opportunity, whether it's education, whether it's entrepreneurship, whether they're in the arts, whether they're in media, whether they're in journalism, whether they're in business development. I've seen it. Politics, lawyers, doctors. My mom's a lawyer, stepmom's a lawyer. My biological mom is a nurse. She has her own businesses. My dad, electrical engineer, you know what I mean, nonprofit leader. So when you're around people that are doing shit, that have money, that have opportunities, that have relationships, connections, getting government grants, funds, getting government contracts, getting private contracts, you see it and you like when you're around people that's not getting it, you're like, damn, it's a little fucked up over here. And so being in Upper Arlington, you're around entrepreneurs, business leaders, let's say military folks, professors, like, And then you don't see, you see the working class, you see the poor people, and you're like, what's the difference? Well, some of these people, their parents, their grandparents, great grandparents helped put money in that pocket. They had trust funds, they had homes, they had the ability to go to private school, they had the ability to travel the world, they had the ability to do dance lessons, music lessons, singing lessons, sports lessons, private trainers. They got amenities over here. The rec center's nice. They got Whole Foods. They got Trader Joe's. They got 2 Krogers. They got an Aldi's. They got 5, 6, 7, 8 banks, wealth management. There's tons of opportunity. You go to the communities with no opportunity, and what you got? Fast food. You know, the educational system is poor. The healthcare system is poor. The roads are poor. The sidewalks are poor. And usually it's renters, right? They don't own the home. So it's people, most people aren't going to take care of something that they don't own or feel like they have equity in. So most people don't take care of their communities because they're not going to be living there long, right? They may live there for a year, 2 years, 3 years, and then it's up and out. They got to go somewhere else. Either cost of living, circumstance, jobs, So a lot of people, you got to understand, are just moving. They're damn near nomads. And, only people with the money, the wealth, are stable, solid, have multiple homes, rentals. Don't go to Indiana to smoke. No BS. You will be on probation in jail. That's crazy. Bad. Use it. Used to live there. Used to live there. That's crazy. Yeah. I don't have no plans for Indiana. My wife has family out in Indiana. Indiana, a different beast too. I've been to Indiana a couple times, but I have no. Ohio is about the farthest. I was in Chicago for training for football. But Ohio, I landed on Ohio because of this. Like, if it was up to me, I would have went right back home to Maryland, DC area. But cost of living, I did want a family. I have a family. I have a beautiful family. I'm married. I have a wife. And so my wife is from Ohio. My in-laws are from Ohio. So for me, it just made better sense. You know what I mean? Cost of living was a huge thing. Raising a family, like, DC is super expensive. And it's just not, the value for what you get is really not worth it, in my mind. Especially if, like, you don't have support, right? So, like, here we got my in-laws. My brother and sister-in-law live 15 minutes away, so my kids get to play with their cousins all the time. They get to go see their grandparents, pretty much all the time. And so it's invaluable. Like, you can't put a price tag on that. And so, again, when it comes to cost of living and purchasing a home, we purchased a home 4 years ago. Crazy market, paid definitely above value. Value has gone up a good bit, but again, we've had to put some money into it. So again, there's just a lot of opportunities. I think Ohio's beautiful though. Like, I love going out in Athens. I love the nature parks. Take my kids to the nature parks all the time, the metro parks. I like to fish. I like to be out in nature. I'm not a big hunter. I want to start hunting. I know Ohio's big in hunting, so but I like being outside. You know what I mean? I like gardening and stuff like that. So Ohio definitely gives a lot of that. You got water. But again, you got these big companies trying to poison the water, trying to take away some of the natural lands. It's a lot of greed in Ohio for sure from the top, which I think is sad. You know what I mean? Because Ohio's a hardworking state. You know what I mean? There's a lot of people that work hard, but it's sad when you see people getting taken advantage of, but they're also ignorant. You know what I mean? So it's like you voting for your own demise, essentially, right? Like, these are the people that y'all trusted to take care of y'all, and they fucking y'all up. You know what I mean? Like, you can be mad at me all you want to. You can not like me because of the way I talk. You think I'm ignorant, you think I'm stupid. I mean, I got the degree to prove it. I ain't stupid. Full scholarship too, you know what I mean? Like, but people have, their assumptions, and just because, we know how to code switch, just because we know how to do different things. But it's when I go out and see poor people, and I'm working in my nonprofit hat, and I'm working in Springfield, and people ain't got no teeth, people living in shacks and shit, I'm like, damn. Like, shit, I gotta brand new HVAC just put in. We nice and cozy over here. I got a brand new roof. We got 2 new cars. Like, but it's like, yo, how you expect me to like, damn, like I done seen the world. Like my kids is gonna be good. And I take care of people. Like I don't really look at people like I look at people as human. You know what I mean? Like I don't look at myself as being better. Like I know everything could get taken away today, and I have nothing, and I have to build from scratch, or I could lose my mind. You know what I mean? So like I come into things very open minded, but then like when you get treated a certain type of way consistently, you're like, fuck that. You know, and that's what Ohio does, man. And it's terrible. Like I was in Upper Arlington. You're like, damn, y'all just treat people crazy. You know what I mean? And it's sad because it's like there's everybody's competing. And I just want people to do well. Like I think if people are doing well, people will be happy, right? If people are doing what they love, what they want to do, they're making money, they're healthy. Like hating people is crazy. Like hating somebody you don't know and you like is diabolical, whether it's race or you just like I know people hear what I say and be like, oh, I don't like them. Oh, that's fine. That's different. But hate, like you got hate where you're just like, oh, I want to kill this person. I hope they die. I hope they fucking slip and bust their head, choke on a bone. Like, I hope they're light. Like, it's a lot of energy. I have none of that. I'm a forward only thinker. You know what I mean? And that's why I created Ohio Cannabis Report. Like, somebody else could have created this shit. The state gives you the information, right? Like, I'm showing y'all this is the state information. All I'm doing is sharing. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not sitting up here saying I'm better than nobody. Like, none of these news companies are sharing this shit. The state's not sharing the shit. You know what I mean? Like people got to wake the fuck up. Like this is all public knowledge and information. And a lot of people are just wanting to be entertained, wanting somebody else to do the work. That's badass book, my brothers. Yeah, shout out to all the people encouraging cannabis for sharing their stories. A lot of different stories in there. Very inspirational, very motivational. A lot of courageous stories, of different people, women, men, older, younger. I'm a millennial, so there's older generations. You got Doctor. We got Mike Tyson wrote a quote. So Mike Tyson's quote, "Cannabis has been a major component in my health and wellness routine. The healing I receive on a mental and physical level has greatly improved the quality of my life. This book is a must read for those interested in learning more about the wonderful holistic healing benefits available through the marijuana plant." And the CEO of Tyson 2.0, Adam Wilkes, was the forward as well. And my story was the first one. I didn't even my all-American cannabis story. So that's when I had a little bit more here. But yeah, I just shared my experience of being a collegiate athlete, navigating the drug testing policies, and being, falling in love with weed while in Athens and playing Division I football and having great success. And I also earned my degree in healthcare administration. So like I literally was studying healthcare, like the business of healthcare, while playing football, where we're getting all of these pills, right? And then we can drink, like everybody drinking. You got people on X, people on Perks, people on Molly, people on Adderall, everything, right? Like cocaine. Like we was the number one party school my senior year. So top 5 my freshman year. So you see it all, right? Like fucking mountains of cocaine, right? Like you're like, fuck. And you see our backup quarterback was our biggest drug dealer on the team. My first week on campus, he pulls out damn near 10 pounds of weed on the center island and we just roll it up. And I'm like, damn, welcome to college. You know what I mean? So again, I think it's important that people understand that, the politicians are playing a certain game. The people got to play the game. I hope it gets better. Our country is a mess. Yeah, America's been a mess though. It's been a mess, and people, they've been blinded by all the different issues. But I mean, for me, like this shit, I was born in 1989. America has been ass. Okay, like don't let maybe not for some of y'all, but for us, America has been ass. My family's still poor. The majority of my family is still poor. in America, and they're American citizens. They've been here. My family has been here forever. And, lack of education, lack of resources, fucked up, and it's sad because again, you can't do everything for everybody, right? Like you can't make people make better choices and decisions. You can't educate everybody, and so it's very sad. And it's especially once you get to higher levels of education, like going to college, and like people think that you got to be super smart to go to college. Like you don't. You know what I mean? College is more about money and access. It's more about having relationships and understanding um, uh, um, how to work with people, how to study, how to research, how to publicly speak, right? How to share your thoughts, how to share your opinions and your ideas, how to come to conclusions, right? How to have a hypothesis and then work backwards to figure out if your hypothesis is correct or not. Um, but college really isn't hard, right? Like anybody now, the beautiful thing about the internet, but people don't use the internet the proper way. You should be on YouTube going to Harvard, right? Harvard has so much information for free online. And this is what Ohio State needs to do. Ohio State has some information, but a lot of these colleges are public land grant institutes and they don't have the information uploaded online. So it's gate kept because people think you got to go to school to there to get the information, which a lot of the information is online now, right? Like the only difference is, yeah, you may not get the in-person experience. Like you can go sit in a lecture hall. You're just not going to get the grade. Like you're just not going to do the work, but you can learn the information, right? People just have to understand it's the information, right? It's not this. It's not the paper. It's not the paper. The paper is for the resume. The paper is for talking, right? But if you have information, oh my God, right? Like if you have the information and you know how to apply the information, that's the thing. People have degrees but don't know how to apply the information. They don't know how to network. They don't know how to connect. So it doesn't matter. You have 2, 3, 4 degrees and you're still struggling because you don't know how to talk to people. You don't know how to put yourself out there. You don't know how to be a creative. So the degree is really just a piece of paper that shows that, hey, I can go to the school, I can do the work, I can finish, right? But then you get out into the real world and then apply what you learn. But then you have to keep learning because things change, things evolve, right? Like you go from college and this was it, and then we got the internet. Well, if you didn't have the internet in college, well, now you got social media. Now you got artificial intelligence. So you have to keep learning. You know what I mean? So college teaches you how to learn, process, work in groups around people in your age group. You have tons of resources, access to things. It's not fully controlled environment, but it's a more controlled environment. But again, I've probably learned more outside of college. I graduated in 2012. I've learned way more since I've left school, right? Like school doesn't teach you how to start a business. They don't teach you how to run a business. They don't teach you how to grow a business. They don't teach you how to, start a social media page or an independent, platform for real. They teach you theory, they teach you history, stuff like that. You do projects and shit, but at the end of the day, like it's a bunch of bullshit. I'm ready for spring. I hate winter. Yeah, I'm definitely ready for spring. Ohio gives us that little fake spring. We had 60, it got up to 60 degrees the other day, which was really nice. Then obviously it got really windy. It's coming though. It's coming, man. It's right around the bend. I think I'm gonna plan a cannabis rally springtime at the State House. What y'all think? Should we do a cannabis rally? Music, bands, guest speakers, singers, like bring everybody, because we haven't even celebrated cannabis being legal yet for real as a state, right? We gotta think about this. We got adult use, but we were in COVID for real. Like a lot of people are still living in that COVID. Like, I don't know if I'm gonna come outside or not. That's been me. Like, I said, fuck everybody, right? When COVID and they said, be 6 feet away, I didn't get the shot. Again, I have a healthcare degree. I'm healthy. I'm not about to just get some random ass shot just because everybody getting sick. I'm sorry. Like, I'll just stay away from everybody. So that was me. Like, I never got COVID, by the way. And so when they said stay away, I'm like, oh, I'm fucking cool. Like I got everything I need. You know what I mean? I don't need to be around people. And I don't like my battery, you know. I love people, but I also get annoyed very easily. I don't like ignorance. I don't like dumb people. I don't like, not being in control of my environment. I don't like being around a lot of people either. Like after playing sports and football, especially if you don't like when you play sports and you're that high level, like you have police, you have the school police, you have the city police, you got the state highway patrol, you got a lot of protection. Then you get out into society and somebody want to run up on you and on some weird shit, and it's like, and I ain't got enough money right now to have security. You know what I mean? So y'all don't run up on me. I ain't got shit. I don't got nothing on me. But nah, but now it's like, come on, man, weed legal. They done criminalized it now. So now, smoking outside is illegal. But I think we need to do a rally where we go smoke out the state house. You know what I mean? We go do that shit on the weekday too. It's not during the weekend. We're gonna go on the weekday while the politicians is in the state house. And I want everybody to bring their biggest joints, they fire weed, and we're gonna roll up outside on state capitol property. We're gonna have bands, bluegrass, hip hop, R&B. We're gonna have it all. Right? We're gonna have resource tables. I need a funder though. I need somebody to send me some capital just so I could fund it properly. Winter though fucks up my ankles, man. Like when I get wintertime, that's when all the old football injuries and basketball injuries really present themselves, right? Like when it's cold, the ankles get really stiff. Yes, wake the F up. Awesome. Yes, absolutely. Appreciate you guys, man. Appreciate you, Marvin. But yeah, that's all we got, man. The referendum stuff is coming up. I don't know what else to do, man. I propose a lawsuit. I need to, I think OCAN should be sued. I think the state of Ohio should be sued. The governor should be sued because they're doing some really foul work for a lot of people. And it's going to hurt a lot of people. If this law goes into effect, I mean, at 90 days after he signed the law. So, there are going to be a lot of people that are going to be impacted by in a lot of different ways with this new law with Ohio SB 56. So, I think it's important for people to really stay aware and follow the news. Again, we are, I'm independent, you know what I mean? So just a disclaimer again, like I do not, this is all, my opinion. I am not representing any other companies that I may be connected with. This is my opinion under the brand of Ohio Cannabis Report. Do your own research. I am not a doctor. I'm not a lawyer. None of those things. So be sure to contact a doctor or contact a lawyer if you have any questions, concerns, because those are the means you got to go through. You know what I mean? Don't come trying to sue me because I done said something and you done took my word for it. You know what I mean? I'm just some random Joe Schmo that you done found on the internet trying to help. You know what I mean? But I don't have all the answers. That's one thing. I do not have all the answers. I try to share as much information I know, resources that I get from to help you guys. But again, a lot of the stuff that I get is online as well. You know what I mean? Like it's literally coming from either the state website, news articles, personal conversations or personal experiences that I've had. And so that's kind of how I roll. You know what I mean? Like even with the boycott OCAN stuff, that's just from my experience being around this cannabis industry for the last 6 years, and realizing that they doing the people dirty. And I don't like it. You know what I mean? Because I got my weed. Like I ain't whether the laws, whatever. Like I'm smoking. And that's one thing I'm gonna do, and I know a lot of y'all gonna do it too. But we shouldn't have to smoke or consume and be afraid of penalties, right? And that's the problem. You know what I mean? People shouldn't be afraid of oh, I can't smoke in my apartment, the only place I can smoke in my car, but now that's illegal. Like people have to understand The laws are changing. Smoking in your car, illegal. Transporting cannabis outside of its original package, illegal. If you are transporting cannabis, it has to be in the furthest part behind the driver's seat in your car or in the trunk. No public consumption. Now illegal to smoke outside, right? Healthcare industry can now discriminate against cannabis consumers. Business owners can now discriminate against cannabis consumers. Landlords can now discriminate against cannabis consumers. Who is that going to impact the most? Low working class, poor people in Ohio. Simple as that. It's not going to affect the people that work for OCAN. It's not going to affect